Today is the NTCA Roundtable Live. Today is March 16th, 2021. It's a Tuesday, and it's an evening that we're doing this live. And this is the Artisan Edition. And we are here today with Angie Ré, with her special guests, Sal DiBlasi and Stephen Belyea. Right now, I'm Mark Heinlein. I'm the NTCA Training Director. Hi, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. This is the Artisan Edition. This is a regular feature of the NTCA Roundtable Live series. We're glad you're here today. And once again, our artisan today is none other than the incredible Angie Ré and her two special guests, Salvatore DiBlasi and Stephen Belyea. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Angie. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be seeing today?
The glass mural that Sal and him and Stephen did the installation on. I guess I can go ahead and start by talking about the idea. Sal contacted me because he was wanting to update a Venice mural that he had existing over his fireplace, and it was a painted mural. And I guess all the stars lined up right, and I called him, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you, price out this mural for me, because it would look cool in mosaic." So I did, and so it happened. So it's pretty cool, and it was a very long process. And just
never rushed you.
Yeah, no, you never rushed me at all, and I thank you so much for that. And I had a lot of other projects going on at the same time, so he allowed me to just work on it as I could. And basically, I'm gonna go through the process a little bit and show you guys some pictures and videos that go along with how it was made, pretty much.
Okay, terrific. We'll get started. But before we do, I want to make sure our audience knows who Salvatore and Stephen are. Sal, can you raise your hand, tell us who you are there, a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm in the Boston area, just north of Boston, and just a tile contractor. Probably pretty much everyone here probably knows that I have a YouTube channel, and that's basically it. And then that's just what I do, install tile like most of the guys here. And Stephen helped me out on this mural. He offered to help when he found out that I was going to be doing it. And Stephen, take it away.
Stephen Belyea. I'm on the south side of Boston. I don't work in Sal's neck of the woods. He doesn't work in mine. Neither one of us wants to cross through Boston.
Although we do help each other out when we need it.
Yep. Yeah, so Sal told me to get this mural made, and I was like, "Oh, if you need a hand, I'll help you out." And this, I guess, we'll hear the rest of the story today.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, guys. Angie, then are you ready for some photographs?
Sure. We're going to start off with the first group of photographs. It's basically the beginning of how it all starts. I was doing this mural in stained glass. For the majority of the mural, it was stained glass. I did add in some mirror tiles and little millefiori, but they start off as big sheets like this, and then become a mural. And right here, this is my template that I used. And Sal had taken a photograph on vacation. So I took that photograph and then had it printed out really big into big paper tiles and laid that down, so that basically I have a guideline to go on, because I build the mural on top of that.
Okay. You ready to get into your first video?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start it up. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit about how I choose colors from the glass that I've already picked up. So I've labeled all my buildings and main structures. You can see there's buildings 1 through 16. So I've got all of these labeled with sticky notes. And you come over here to my glass, and I have sticky notes marking what colors go to what object in the mosaic. So some of the colors go to several objects. And I try to make sure that I repeat certain colors to make it more pleasing to the eye. So I've got all of these colors labeled. For my building, so I won't get confused. And sometimes I'll change things up as I go, but I like to have a pretty good plan. I've got different colors for the water, and then there's also some water color right here in the greens, and then I have different colors for the sky. And whenever I was purchasing my glass, I was trying to determine how much of each one that I need. So it was kind of a guessing game, but for the most part, I understood what I needed because of the size of the project. And I made sure I got enough square footage. So if I have to go back and get more, then I'll do that. But I just wanted to get the colors labeled that are for the main structures and the main sections of this mosaic. Everything else that is extra, like whenever I start making the people in the gondolas, then I'll just pull from my own personal stash of stained glass and colors.
Okay, that's really cool. Angie, I just want to jump in and let our attendees know that if they have any questions for you, they can put them in the chat screen. And after your portion of the presentation, we are going to have a chance for you to ask questions of Angie, and she'll be able to answer all of them for you. So jot down your questions, put them in the chat screen, and we will get to those.
Show the group 2 pictures, because then this shows a bit of the process as it's happening in photos. So the mesh that I have behind everything is not going to stay there. That was just a temporary hold for my pieces so that I could, I'm sitting here pointing at the screen like you could see me. It just holds the pieces in place. It's a sticky mesh, or you could use contact paper, just something that's sticky but not too sticky. Just keeps the pieces, it's like dry laying tile, except I'm just dry laying the glass in place so I can move it around and adjust things how I want to. And this picture right here, that's an app that I use. It's got a filter on it. It's so that I can see the grout joints, because I use the grout as shadows as part of the image itself. So in order for me to like see that visually, I like to use the app so that I can see those lines and check and make sure it's good.
We have a number of pictures to cycle through here. And what are we seeing here, Angie?
And that was a practice piece of glass that I decided to sign the artwork. It's not every project I don't sign. And sometimes I put my signature in with tile itself. But this one I decided to test out signing the glass with Dremel and a diamond bit for engraving. And it turned out pretty good. So decided to sign Sal's artwork.
Did this end up in the actual piece?
Not that piece
There's a
right
signature in the piece in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, it's in the bottom right, but it's not the actual piece. That was the first attempt.
Okay. Some more detailed photos of the work.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's starting to come together more.
Yeah, it does. It's amazing that you could work all day and only get like this much completed, just depending. That's my husband. He came in and helped for 5 days on that building. And then he left the rest of it to me. But he enjoyed it.
5 days on that building alone?
Yeah, he worked on that building. I did some of the smaller details, but he did well doing the work on the building.
Wow.
So yeah, he comes in and helps now and then.
A lot of very intricate work here. It's amazing to see it coming together through this process.
Mm-hmm. And I like that I can use that pink tile that I use the glass for the flowers. The light pink is actually antique glass. It is antique now. I've had it for over 30 years. So when I was a teenager, and my uncle did stained glass, and after he just did it as a hobby. And then one day he was just like, you can have all my glass. And so I kept it for years and years and years and never did anything with it. And then now, you know, it's pretty cool that it's being used, and it's rare to find pink, and pink is also a really expensive color of glass because of the way that they have to make it. And it literally takes gold to make pink and reds. So it's cool to get to use that glass because it's special.
Interesting to know the story, and look how it came together here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of detail.
Yeah, that was basically the assembly. The next videos that I want to show you, it's a series of videos that I just took as I was making the mosaic. So it talks about how to prepare it to be shipped, basically, how it goes from a large piece to be in a situation where someone else can install it. Okay, so now that the mural is complete, I want to clean it up because I'm going to be taping the face of it. And right now there's dust and there's little crumbs. I don't know if you can see, but there's like little glass crumbs and things like that on the mosaic. And what I'm going to do is carefully use a shop vac to suck up all of the crumbs and stuff. And I'm not going to put it directly on the mosaic like this because I don't want all my pieces being sucked up into the shop vac. I'm going to just hold it close and see if that'll help. It usually does pick up a whole lot of the dust. So I'm going to start in one corner. Okay, here's another process to cleaning the dust. I'm just going to lightly, I'm not pressing down. I've got a feather duster, and I'm not going to press down on it and push, but I'm going to lightly dust the area. And just pay attention if I do move any tiles that I replace them. Sometimes this picks up tiles, sometimes it doesn't. You just have to be careful. And I'm gonna sweep all of this dust that the feather duster picks up all the way to the end. And then I'm gonna shop vac my little dust pile over there.
Just as cleaning is an intricate process, Angie.
Yeah, it's it reminds me of like art
more than you
restoration.
think.
These little feather dusters. It was in there for months, so it gets dusty.
So this is actual dust you're cleaning off, little glass shards that are left behind, all of the,
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't see it, but there's a little bit of a dust pile there. And some of this dust will fall into the cracks where the joints are, but that'll be fine because we're going to take the face of it. So it actually won't go in between. The tape will just stay on top. So anything that falls in the cracks can be easily removed whenever we remove the mesh off the back. And most of it will stick to the sticky mesh that's in the cracks. So I'm going to continue this from, along all the sides. And then whenever I have my pile at the end, I will be shop vacuuming those up.
so as a tile contractor, your shop looks surgically clean to me, but you've still got to go through and do this process before you put the sticky tape adhesive on the surface then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for this video? This is video number 4.
Okay. Now that everything is dusted, oh, by the way, that was not a feather duster I used. That's actually a microfiber duster. It works better, I think, than a feather duster. So what I'm doing now, because it's so important that this is clean before we tape it and free of dust. And it does get dusty because it's been in the shop for so long. And then there's glass dust and everything else that you have to worry about. But I have a microfiber towel, and I got it completely wet and then just completely as tight as I could wrung it out so it's not drippy, but it's damp. So what I'm going to do is just lay it out in sections and just kind of tap it like this. So that will make sure that most all of the dust is gone. We definitely want, when we start mounting, to make sure that there's no dust because the tape needs to stick to the glass. And the only way for the tape to stick to the glass properly is if the face of the mosaic is clean. Because it would be a terrible thing to have like a really dirty section and then the tape not stick to it and then all your pieces come falling off. So I just continue this the whole way. And it's okay to push down on it. Just carefully lift it up each time. And I'm going to continue this for the entirety of the mural.
Angie, during this process, those pieces aren't adhered to anything. They're just sitting there.
Yeah, they're sitting there, but they're on the sticky mesh that I have underneath. So they don't really move that much. All right, so now the mural I've waited enough time for any moisture that may have gotten onto it from the microfiber cloth dusting. It's had time to dry, and I'm going to begin taping. So I come over here, I have like a cutting mat and a roll that's about 12 inches wide, 60 feet long, and I have several of these, and I start by pulling the tape. And these pieces don't have to be a specific size, but I do want them to be easy to handle whenever I stick it down. So I'm only going to cut a piece that is about this wide. So got a sharp razor blade box cutter knife, and then I take the sticky side down, and I'm going to start in the corner, which is the most difficult place, I think, to start, and I just lay it down and then carefully just let it fall. The goal here is to not have any wrinkles. So I just push it out to the edge. If it does have some wrinkles, it's not a real big issue. There are ways to fix it without pulling the tape back up. So I rub my hand over all the pieces that the tape is on to make sure that each piece is stuck. All right, when I do my next piece, I'm going to make sure that it overlaps just a little bit. But not too much. So I kind of fold it in like this. And you can do like stick the center carefully and work your way out. So you see it's overlapped that piece just a little bit. And I'm going to continue this all the way down, all the way across. It'll be one huge piece of tape, basically, when I'm done. Well, hours have gone by now, and the whole entire mural has tape on it. So I just go through after I've taped the whole thing and just make sure everything's, all the little edges are pushed down, and if there's any bubbles, I kind of try to get those out. You can use an X-Acto knife if you needed to cut into a bubble to make it go away. I'm not really concerned about that one because it's pretty small. But essentially you're just looking for gaps and places that that need tape. And I've gotten the tape pretty good. I try to do that as I go along so I don't lose track of where the spot that needs an extra bit of tape. But sometimes there's where two pieces meet up and then there's like a little gap. I'll take another piece of tape and put over the gap so that it's all one big piece of tape. One thing I wanted to show you is, remember all the glass that I bought, and they were all in big sheets. I had many, many pieces of glass. It's now turned into this right here. So that's pretty much what's left over out of all of the sheets of glass. So I'll take this glass and then color sort it and put it in my containers. Now we're gonna start cutting the sheets. I've already cut the first row, and I'm gonna show you how I set that up. So when I start cutting sheets, I think about the box that this is gonna be shipped in. A lot of people ask me, how do you ship a big mural? And basically I ship it in boxes, in sheets, and the box that I have is 13 inches by 13 inches. So I've got a piece of foam board here that is 12 inches by 12. So I'm going to make sure that my sheets fit within this area. And I do that for two reasons. One, because they're easier to install. They're, you know, a lot less cumbersome to handle when you have the glass mosaics that are, you know, sometimes floppy. So I try to keep it smaller sizes so they're easier to install. And then also I want to make sure they fit in the box. So what I do is, I know I'm going to keep it within 12 inches. So I find a grout joint that is not over 12 inches on either side. So that would be this grout joint. I wouldn't be able to go past this piece because that's way too long. So I'm going to start cutting and make sure that I just stay within that area. 12 inches this direction. I need to make sure that I don't pass like this line. So I try to find joints that are wide enough that I can cut in between. And this piece here, I don't want to include that because it goes on up. So I'm going to have to cut it right there. So what I'll do is I'm going to start cutting. Another good idea is to take like a dry erase marker and mark the area, and then that way you can visually see where you need to go, because it gets a little confusing sometimes trying to cut these puzzle style pieces. All right, so this is the joint, and I use like an X-Acto knife with a sharp blade. I'm not going to cut through to the mesh. The mesh was only there for the assembly. I'm leaving the mesh, and you can easily peel up the glass from the mesh because it's already been taped and mounted. Just to speed it up a little bit.
Okay. How's that? That's super fast.
No, I wasn't telling you to speed it up. That's great. I was saying it would speed up the video a bit. Yeah, now you can stop it.
Let me stop it there. Okay.
Yep.
All
And
right.
then, so yeah, you can see that it lifted up off of the mesh.
Okay.
All right, so I'll just explain from here. Basically, I just cut the piece out and then put my hand underneath it to lift it up off of the mesh. It's not that sticky where it would be a problem. And then I flattened it out, flipped it over, flattened a piece out with a grout float to make sure that the face was flat. And then I start taking the section over to the next part of the room, which I guess you're going to get to right there. Yep. So you can play it, or can you?
That's the speed I recorded it at.
Oh.
I thought that's what you had me do last night, so that's what I did.
So I'm labeling the sections. I've got A through maybe 6 or 7 on the one side, and then I label the next one at the bottom, B1. I always start with a letter and a number, and then I take that section, keep cutting, and keep putting the pieces up so that I have at least one box worth of tiles before and I just continue that process until I've got all the boxes of tiles set up to be boxed. And is that the last video?
This next video is the last video. Do you want that one now?
Sure. Yeah, that was a like 20-second video, I think.
Okay. Here's the last video.
I was wearing a helmet cam, so. That's the signature part.
That's the signature.
Yeah.
So isn't that the piece you broke and replaced?
What? I didn't break it.
No, Sal.
No.
I didn't break it. I have the evidence.
Okay, so I want to show those pictures right here. Yeah, these are the sections of the mural. So there were 5 sections and fit in 5 boxes. That's just kind of how I figured out how many boxes it would take. And so I have them all labeled, and then I'm going to box them up carefully. And you've got the pictures of that as well. And then my part is done.
Can you go? That's fine.
So if you can see, I've got on the, if you can go back to that one picture. Yeah. The sections, I took a picture of my sections and then labeled them for Sal in a PDF. And it tells what box it coordinates to. So Then I also labeled my boxes so that he wouldn't be confused. You know, just opening a random box with a random piece, you know, you got to make sure that there's arrows and whatnot just to help.
Can you go back 2 pictures, Mark? Like say like that, just so people can appreciate the intricacies of what she was doing when she was cutting all these pieces to fit into each other. So when you look at those pieces there, and then the next pieces beside them had to interlock into those the way it was. I mean, that was not. She did a great job at the way they lined up, but just to see all the way those interlocked, it was crazy to get them to fit in the boxes, you know.
And the way she labeled it and putting it back together again, it was not confusing at all. She had all the instructions, and so I looked at it for the first box just to see to get started, but then I really didn't even have to look at the instructions anymore because it was just obvious where every piece went.
All right, I guess we can move on to any questions that we might have. For my part, there's the palette. Shipped off to Sal. That was a good day.
It was a good day.
We do have some questions for you, Angie. I'll just start at the top from our friend Paul. Do you get to visit a glass store to choose your glass in person?
Yeah, actually, my business neighbor owns a glass store. So I can walk right next door and get whatever materials I want and then come back. And thankfully, she's the one that told me about this building being for rent for my studio. So we have a good relationship with each other, and I get most of my glass. She sells high quality glass. I definitely trust what she sells. She knows her stuff. And so it is pretty cool that I can just walk next door and pick out materials and walk back.
We have a little discussion wondering about the size of the finished project.
Okay, yep, without getting crazy technical, is approximately 4 foot by 12 foot. So, but it really was like, it was
11'7" by 3'10".
Yeah, it wasn't completely square. And so I made it to the specific size that Sal wanted me to make it.
Yeah, we made it just a tiny bit smaller than the actual size, so we wouldn't have to worry about it not fitting and then having to cut tile. So we made it just a little bit smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So do you work on more than one project at a time? You must have a lot of storage room to store all of these as they're being laid out and worked on.
Yeah, I work on, I have 3 rooms in my studio. I mainly work out of one, but I do work on, the past year, about 3 or 4 projects at a time.
Okay, so you've got plenty of real estate to spread out in. That's great to know. How long did that piece take you, Angie? How many hours do you have into that thing?
I need to get one of those chess timers where you just tap it and then it calculate, because I don't keep up with that. All I can do is just guess how long it took me. And based on what I think it was somewhere around 200 hours, maybe 150.
A lot of hours.
Yeah, it was a lot of hours. But you know, because Sal gave me freedom to work on it when I could.
No pressure.
I took advantage of that.
Yeah, no pressure at all, and I gave her complete freedom of complete artistic freedom. Just do it the way she thinks she's gonna do it, because what the hell do I know? And
That's
and
great.
you can see what we got. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for that.
That looks like when you're grinding on the glass and maybe scoring and snapping and doing that, it might create some dust. Do you have a dust filtration system?
It does create dust. I have one fan in this, and then I have a front door, you know, but basically I have very little ventilation. So I PPE pretty much all the time
Okay.
and clean up.
That tape that we might hear about again, where do you get that?
I order it from, and I've been ordering from this company for years. And that's why I really haven't, I get a discount from them now. So it's marylandmosaics.com. And they have that tape. I do like that brand, but I believe that you can find that brand straight from the distributor. I just continue to order from Maryland Mosaics because they've been good to me over, I don't know, last 15 years.
Lisa Bustamante is asking that, so she might ask you later for that web address or phone number.
Okay.
Okay. Here's an important question. Someone is wondering whether you always paint your fingernails to match your projects to keep you color coordinated.
I like my fingernails to look nice every now and then, but like it doesn't last because, you know, I'm also in thin set and working with black grout and tile saws. It lasts for a moment.
Okay. About that extra glass you showed us, that little tiny bit that was left over that you put into your storage cases, do you send that to the customer for like attic stock for their project, or so they store it?
I keep most of it, but I do send color samples of each one that I can find. And see, yay, Sal still has some left.
Well, I hardly used any. I think I cut like 3 pieces.
Yeah. So I try to send a swatch, if you will, with each of the colors, if I have any left. I think there was a couple colors where I used every bit. And
I was looking for that color.
man, we could have worked it out.
And we were wondering if you sign your work, and the answer is yes, we saw you sign your work. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I don't always. But on larger projects, I like to leave a little something in there. Sometimes I hide signatures, you know, try not to make it obnoxious. I want it to be more about the artwork.
Terrific. Angie, that is one heck of a presentation there. Everyone, do you have any other questions for Angie right now? If not, if you think of them, we're going to cut over to the installation process. And if you think of more questions for Angie, we will come back to her and ask those questions after. And but we do have that ever-present question, Angie. What the heck is the price point on a piece of work like that?
It's never really enough. Sorry, Sal.
I'm not going to argue with you. You gave me a lot more detail than you were planning on doing anyway.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it really varies between projects because this glass project and then another glass project can be 2 different things. It all depends on the level of detail, you know, what materials are being used, and, you know, the mounting technique that I use, I charge different prices for. And so, and then also I base it on how many weeks, you know, try to figure out how many weeks I estimate that it would take me to make if I were only doing that project. And so I base that, I factor that into my price, and which is my income. And then I factor in a profit for the business. It's hard to tell, like I don't really have a spreadsheet or anything like that where it just, you know, says, you know, it's this much per square foot, because I don't mass produce anything. So everything's kind of one off and gets priced individually. I'm sorry that I couldn't answer your question.
We do have a little advice for you from the audience, and that's somebody saying all artists should sign their work is their opinion.
I
Okay.
actually appreciate that you signed that work, because I actually, anyone that's seen it, I've pointed it out to them. So
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm gonna promote you, Angie.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, and Dave Karp agrees with that. He says he signs his tile work. He's got ways to do that. He says he can do that on kitchen backsplashes with a sticker under the upper cabinet. That's pretty cool, Dave Karp.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
cool.
so continue thinking about your questions for Angie. Angie, do you have anything else to add before we move on to the installation?
No, I think I pretty much covered the process, I believe.
All right, terrific. If you have more questions for Angie, put them in the chat screen. And
Wait a minute. I didn't hear, I was on the phone and I didn't hear my answer.
oh, you missed it. Oh,
What
Angie,
was your
I
question?
saw this.
Too late,
I saw this,
too
but I
late,
couldn't- I
too
couldn't-
late.
Are you the one that wanted to know about my nails?
Yeah, I'm the one, of course.
Yeah, they're not pretty right now.
Well, they were pretty in the videos. That's what made me think of it. So,
Yeah. Well,
all right,
thanks.
all right, I'll stop.
Salvatore and Stephen, do you want to start with your pictures or do you want to talk a little first? What would you like to do?
Well, why don't you just put a picture up, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So this is what was up there before originally. This was a painted mural that was painted when the house was built, and as you can see in certain spots here, it's peeling, it's deteriorating. And we freshened up that room by, we painted the room, we painted the ceiling, and we trying to figure out what are we going to do with this mural. We couldn't find anyone to fix it, and we didn't want to have another mural painted. So I came up with the idea of maybe mosaic tile or whatever, and we looked into different options, and finally connected with Angie, and you know the rest of the story. Got that made, and when it was done, jumped into the installation. So, and this is actually a picture I took. So the original mural was of Venice. So we debated about doing other types of paintings and other types of images with my wife, and then we finally decided it still has to be Venice, just to keep the flavor of what the mural originally was. And so I went through all my pictures of that I had taken in Venice in 2016, and this is the one that I came up with. And then I added some filters. I put it in Photoshop and I put some filters in it to make it look more like a painting or a drawing. And this is what I sent to Angie. And then she reproduced this. And an interesting thing is that I asked Angie, I said, Angie, can you take that family out of there and put a couple in there? And Angie comes back to me and she says, well, I can put you and your wife in there if you want. So I sent her some pictures. She specifically asked for pictures where we're both wearing sunglasses, and she came up with the image that you see on the mural. So, and then, so this is what this is my living room, and the fireplace is in the back. There's a fireplace under there. And so I had to figure out how I was gonna install the mural. So I was a little bit concerned because there's a fireplace about installing foam board. First of all, this fireplace has never been used. We never use it, and it'll never be used. We just don't do fireplaces. We just don't burn wood. But I did contact Laddercrete to find out if the foam board would be appropriate, the Hydraband board would be appropriate to put over that to install, even though it's on a fireplace, and they gave me the okay. So so I covered everything so I wouldn't get anything set anywhere on the carpet or anything. And there was a row of mosaic tile all the way around. I ripped that off and then I just covered it with Hydraband board. So I found where all the studs were, you know, on it behind, so that I could screw right into the studs. And the laser line is just, you know, I have a mark on the mantle showing me where the studs are, and then I put a laser line on it so I could just put the screws in and hit the stud. And then I skimmed. One of the things about having the plastic over the glass and then having the Hydroban board, which is impervious as well. So you got two impervious surfaces with a water, you know, a thin set mixed with water underneath it. So drying was, I thought, was going to be a little bit of a problem. So I skim coated the entire surface of the Hydroban board with a coat of the glass tile thin set, so that it would help with the drying and of the thin set underneath. But it turns out probably wasn't even really necessary. It may have been a hindrance more than a help. And then Angie, this is what she shipped in the 5 boxes, and I have to compliment Angie. Directions were perfect. There was no confusion on how to put it together at all. It just went very, very smooth. She had all the directions that she showed you. Opened up the first box, and then I had to lay out a 1.5 sheets of Hydroban board on the floor so that I would have a flat surface to lay the mural on, so I could assemble the whole thing. So that when we go to install it, we just pick up a piece and we know exactly where it goes, and we don't have to try and figure it out. It's already all laid out. So it's just pick it up and put it in. And yeah, so it only took like maybe 45 minutes, an hour to lay out the whole thing. It was very straightforward. No issues doing that. It was very well labeled, and you know, very, very clear where every piece went. And that's just me continuing to lay it out. It was very quick. And the instructions, you can see some of the instructions there on the floor. And so this here, right? Steve, you tell us about this, Steve.
Well, when Sal told me that Angie was putting him and his wife into the mural, I asked Angie if it was too late to mosaically photobomb his mural somehow. And this is what she surprised us with. It was very flattering. It was very fun.
Yeah. So I'm laying it out, and I see this writing on this piece of mural, and I pause, right, and I say, "What the hell?" And there's Stephen. So Stephen is officially in the mural.
And it looks just like me. I mean, it's uncanny. I mean,
what a resemblance.
That's the back of your head.
That was actually really fun to see that.
Is he wearing sunglasses?
That's probably back of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see his bald spot on the top of his head either.
Oh wow, Sal, you weren't there.
Oh, and there's me and my wife. That's the, you know, that's actually an uncanny likeness, even though it's just glass mosaic tile. It's she did a great job, I have to say. So, and this is just to give you a perspective of just how big it is. It's 11 foot. What was it? 11 foot 7. 11 foot 7
Yeah.
by 3 foot 10. That's a big mural.
What are you, 4 feet tall, Sal?
I am just over 4 feet tall.
All right.
Okay, and so you know, so Stephen, when he heard about the mural, as I said, he offered to help, and he actually pretty much did the entire installation. I only really put in 2 pieces, and I was completely confident that Stephen knew what he was doing, and obviously he did a great job. So yeah, maybe Stephen could talk about how the installation actually was done with the thin set and stuff like that.
Well, first, it was an honor to be part of the whole thing. I mean, Angie, unbelievable job, and nothing like this have I ever done. So, I figured I'd give Sal a hand. I knew it was gonna be a big project, and I was like, hey, I'll give you a hand. And obviously it was bigger than I had imagined, but so we all got together, and me, Sal, the two Matts, and Sal had asked me to do the installation. I said, sure, flattered. So obviously we wanted to make sure that we install it properly. So Angie had given them a trowel she had recommended for the, size-wise, notch trowel.
And just not to interrupt you, Stephen, but I did do a test piece of the, with the glass, with that trowel, to see if the what coverage I would get, and I think it's actually in the video, Mark, that I show that. So it did actually was the correct size, but we did have a slight problem, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So go ahead with the installation, Steve.
Was it a 16th by 132nd?
It was a 16th by a 16th deep by a 32nd wide, or something like that.
Yeah, so we flat troweled the area and combed it, and then knocked down the ridges. It's a very thin bed, thin set. So we tried to move pretty quick, because it was so thin. We didn't want it, skinning over. We checked a few times to make sure we were getting, making sure it was adhering, and we were comfortable with what we were seeing. So we proceeded.
Yeah, and yeah, we actually, the very first piece we put in, I tried to pull it off to check the coverage, and it was stuck on there. Couldn't, I really didn't want to pull any harder than I did, because I didn't want to risk, upsetting something. So we were confident that it stuck, that it was getting the adhesion that it needed, the coverage.
We're using the Laticrete glass tile adhesive light, which is a new product. So
yeah,
we actually had the rep was there with us working with it. He mixed it
yeah,
up.
Matt Bunzel was there to watch and advise if we needed any advice on the products that we were using. So so basically the mural went up about 3 hours, 3.5 hours?
4 hours, including lunch with some of the Sal's homemade wine, of course.
So what, about 4 hours, you say?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So we didn't get, Steve didn't show up till, because he had something to do in the morning. He showed up about 10:30. We didn't get started probably till like 11:30. And then we stopped for lunch about 1 o'clock, and then we're done by like what, 2?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little later.
Yeah. So it went up really quick. And
I spread the wall, and they handed me sheet after sheet. We had like kind of a production line going, and I would yell out which side I wanted to go to. I mean, everything was so well coordinated with the numbers and the letters, where I could just be like, all right, bring me B, bring me B3. So it just kept going and going, and at some points we wanted to go to the right and then build up, and then sometimes we wanted to go straight to the top, and you can see where we finished here. That was the halfway point prior to lunch, which was perfect because it gave us a nice, pretty straight line to end on, and then we came back after lunch and built off of that.
Yeah,
that section.
And then just to there's a beater block there. You can see it on the mantle. That's it's basically a piece of hardwood, and it's got rubber on the bottom side, and then you just use that to tap all the use a hammer on the other, and you just tap everything in to get it to sit into the thin set.
And I tried to do what Angie did when she was setting the plastic, the tape onto it, which you can see in the video, is after I beat it in with the beater block, I tried to make sure I used my fingers and rubbed my hands over every piece and touched every tile and try to make sure they were pushed into the thin set properly as best I could.
Yeah, and Stephen was very thorough, because he didn't want to let me down. So he was very
no pressure on me, right?
Yeah, no pressure on you. So, and I set the first piece, and I set this piece here, and that's all I set. But that doesn't mean that I didn't do any work.
So you're a big part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's me.
There he is, pointing to himself.
So proud.
Steve, are you a CTI?
I am.
Okay, cool.
And there is the mural all installed, but with the plastic still over it. So now it's just sitting there and it's drying.
So you can see in this picture where, a lot of the lines and the details, the grout joints and the details of the buildings and stuff, you don't really pop out yet. I mean, as beautiful as it was, I mean, we sat back just to look at this, the way it is now covered in plastic, it was gorgeous.
Yeah. And then when you pull the plastic off, it just becomes that much brighter. And then when you grout it, all the detail just comes to life. There's a lot of detail that you can't see because the grout is what brings it out. And Angie, as she showed, she had that app that she could see what it was going to look like with the grout. Because, she says black grout and then gray grout for the sky. I was like, okay, she knows what she's doing. So, and it just brought it to life when it was grouted. And yeah, this is after this is grouted. If you look at the buildings, or like if you look at the far left, you can see there's a brick wall there at the far left. Can you go back one slide, Mark? See on the left, you can't even see that that's a brick wall. Then go back forward, and then you go back, go forward again, and then now all of a sudden you see it's a brick wall. So the grout actually was a very important part of the mural. And then so this is the you can see the white around it a little bit. That was the we made it that much smaller. On the mantle is probably like maybe a quarter of an inch above the mantle. And then so the space all the way around it so it can expand and contract and move, and it will never be bound up by anything. And then I think the last one is that's where I put the wood frame in it, and it's just we're trying to pick a color to paint it. Steve actually had a good idea because I was going back and forth with Angie and my wife, and I asked Steve's advice, and for the color of this border, this frame, and Angie's saying black, and then we thought about white, and then we thought about different colors. And Steve then suggested, why don't you just get like a wood frame, see what it looks like, and then if that looks, because the woodwork in my house is all just it's all just urethane wood, so see what it looks like. And so we actually decided that we're probably going to paint it like one of the gray, dark gray colors we're thinking about. We haven't decided yet, but that woodwork's going to get painted. And then because the top and the two sides is like a molding, and then the bottom is like a quarter round, I had to put like a little blocks on each corner, which was Steve's idea, so I could make the transition from the molding to the quarter round. And that's basically the entire installation.
Is the video going to cover the process?
Yeah, the video will cover that entire process. So is the video next, Mark?
It sure is, Sal. Here's the video. You ready?
Yep. Got all the hydroborne band board up, and I'm going to skim coat that with thin set. This is the first piece, which goes right over here. I'm putting it together, it's all numbered. So this is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. So as you can see, it just fits together, no problem.
We had no issues installing it at any point where it wasn't fitting in.
Yeah, everything just fit in nicely together. So this is an ANSI A118.15 mortar. This adhesive is specifically made for glass, as it says on the package. So and this is where I tested the coverage with that trowel. Get it off. Very good coverage. The way we're gonna do this is first, Steve's gonna key in the thin set into an area. So he's back troweling. So he's gonna key it in, make sure we get a good bond. Then he's gonna trowel it out, get all the ridges. And then once he's got everything very even, he's gonna knock down the ridges without removing any material, just flattening the ridges. So I'm gonna put the first piece in.
So setting the cornerstone.
So this is the beater block. Just this one tile, then I'm gonna let Steve take over.
You've tested it before.
I did. Oh no, it's stuck on there. Steve moved really quick. That's why we got done so fast.
That was after a glass of salt wine at lunch. Still wore my hat.
Well, Steve, you pulling the plastic off up there?
I sure am.
This was your favorite.
Oh,
This was
yeah.
on Saturday, this was on Monday.
So the plastic, yeah, we got to talk about the plastic.
Pieces pop off, I can reset them where they belong. Rather than pulling straight out, you're putting extra pressure on the tile.
Pull it back on itself.
Yeah.
Any pieces pop off yet?
There's two little ones. So far, so good.
Trowel?
I was saying, if we increase the trowel size, we'd have less tiles falling off because the increased trowel size would compensate for the different thicknesses in the glass. But that increased trowel size would leave too much thin set, and the bleed out would be outrageous.
Yeah, and scratching out. Even though resetting all those little tiles is tedious and a pain in the rear end and very, very time consuming, scratching out the grout would be even worse. We're just going over any squeeze through, any loose tiles that may have happened. So we're just making sure clean out all the grout joints, just going over all the details here, scratching out what we need to scratch out, and just getting ready to grout.
And even after we were done grouted, we were still peeling off plastic.
Plastic, we thought we were done with the plastic, and then all of a sudden you find a piece of plastic because we overlapped it, and some parts had like 2 and 3 layers. So, the plastic just kept on showing up.
So here we left the plastic on the sky, and we grouted the rest of it. That's why you can see where we was grouting the black. It was taped off. We left the tape on all the sky, and then we pulled off around it. We solid cut around all the clouds in the sky.
So this was the Spectralock 1 grout, and it was very easy to grout this mural with that grout. It cleaned up very easily. It was very nice to clean. And so all the black, and you can see all the details come out in the building. They just start to pop out, the details. And and when I look at it every day, I still see other stuff that I hadn't seen before, because it's just so many pieces, so many details.
So everything's grouted but the sky at this point.
I think that's the end of the video. I don't think I showed in this part of the video the sky, but once we had all the black grout area that needed to be grouted with the black, we taped off with the blue tape the part that was already grouted to tape it, to protect it from the gray grout, and so with the blue tape, and then we grouted the sky with the gray grout. So just as a note, pulling off the plastic and then resetting all the little pieces that came off, because there was a problem in the sense that the gray, there's a particular gray on there that's thinner than the other tiles. So the plastic, no matter, even if you beat it in, you would beat in the tile, the plastic on the surface would pull it back out of the thin set because it's, it's stuck to the, it's thinner. And as I was pulling off the plastic, a lot of those gray pieces would just be stuck to the plastic. So I would have to reset those one at a time. The mural was actually stuck very, very well. It's just those, a lot of those gray pieces and some of the very, very small pieces, because there's really no area for it to stick with thin set, would pull off. And I found the best way to do that is just pull the thin set plastic off very slowly, and then the pieces that would become loose would be still stuck to the plastic, and then you could just peel them off one at a time and then reset them right into place. And that was very tedious and very time consuming. It took me all day to do it, but it's not because of the thin set. It's not because of anything other than the physics of the glass being slightly thinner than the other pieces. So, but it all worked out in the end very well. I think I lost maybe like two tiny little pieces, or maybe, yeah, two tiny little pieces that I had to recut from the glass that Angie supplied. But other than that, it was very, very smooth, went very smooth. Don't you think, Steve?
No, definitely, absolutely. I mean, it was a lot of work, definitely, because I went there Monday and he'd already cleaned up all day Saturday and replaced pieces. We replaced a few more, but it was an experience getting out the dental pick, which is a great piece of advice.
Yeah, from Angie. Yeah.
And, even at one point I had the magnifying glass going, just all the little details, clean everything up nice, and
He sent me a picture of a tiny little piece of glass, like little sliver, and was like, "Where does this one go?"
Yeah, and you answer him and say, maybe it goes over here in this corner.
Well, someone had asked earlier, what's the smallest piece? And I think that might have been one of them. I said,
Yeah.
where does this go?
Yeah, the official measurement of the smallest piece is tiny.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many pieces were a part of that mural, and just to know that they were put there one piece at a time, cut by hand, put in just one after another. I mean, it's amazing to see that many pieces.
Angie, how many pieces would you estimate? There's thousands of pieces in that.
I don't count my pieces. There's thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's thousands. I mean, if you see a close up of that mural, and it's unbelievable how many pieces of glass. There are some quite large pieces, but then there's areas where it's just like hundreds of little pieces, to make the building or the greenery or whatever. And I don't know, Angie, how you have the patience to do that.
Welcome to my world a little.
Yeah, but it was I'm happy it's all done, and the process was actually enjoyable, except for pulling off the plastic.
Yeah, there's a specific way that I do it whenever I'm installing. So I'll, like Stephen was saying, just
yeah, that's how I did it. I pull.
Yeah, but then I put something underneath where I'm pulling to keep those pieces down. I just do it really super slow and like plastic spatula or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of hold it all in like that.
Yeah. Do you find that pieces longer will pretty much always come off? Little pieces, tiny little pieces?
Sometimes they don't. It depends on how long you let it cure, because of the plastic, it takes longer to cure than like a paper face or mesh backed sheet. So the plastic just pretty much holds the moisture in. So I would typically like cut little slits the next day in the plastic to let more air in, and then the following day then
Yeah.
start taking it
Well,
off.
I actually found that the bigger pieces that were on there didn't come loose. Those would have been the pieces that had more moisture trapped than the tiny little pieces. But I think it was more that the tiny little pieces had practically no area to be adhered to because it's so small.
Right.
So, but no, but you know, it all worked out very well in the end.
Mhm.
And I think the major culprit was that gray glass is a little bit thinner than the rest of the glass, and the fact that the plastic is holding it, you know, away from the wall.
Why didn't you back butter all the little gray pieces?
Well, you know, if I had known, I would have had Steve do that.
He'll do anything for a glass of wine. Sal's wine, anyway.
Yeah. So I think that's basically it. So the only thing left is to paint that molding.
Yep.
What an incredible process altogether. Just terrific. We've got a few questions in the chat room. I don't know if you've seen them. Let me just run through those. Back up to the top of the installation process. There's a comment from Joseph. First thing he does is throw those instructions on the floor every time. Yeah. So
He
right?
throws them on the floor.
Yeah, who needs the instructions? He's saying.
Yeah, who
Especially
needs instructions? We know it all.
Yeah. And here's a comment. There's a lot of love out there for the little Stephen. Yeah, he's adorable. That's really cute. Cheers for Steve.
Mosaic, Stephen.
Can you mention again the trowel size that was used?
It was a 16th by a 16th deep by a 32nd wide. I asked Angie for the specific size of the trowel that she recommended, and then I sent her I showed her the trowel that I picked, and she confirmed that was the one. And then I did test, as you saw in the little video, I did test the trowel to see, and I specifically chose larger pieces because to see if I would actually get good coverage, and I got very good coverage. And it's important that the surface was flat. And another thing that he wasn't in the video is when Stephen showed up, the first thing he did, he got a putty knife and started to go, and I did the same thing too, go over everything to make sure there was no ridges, nothing that would cause a bump in the surface.
And how critical is that for this installation of these little itty bitty tiny pieces all the way up to the largest tiles that are made?
Oh yeah,
all the way through, right?
Yeah.
Great story there. Here's a question and a comment. Can you tell us again how long you let it cure before you pulled the tape? And did you think about using a heat gun to help pull the tape?
No, I didn't think about using the heat gun. It was probably about 24 hours before I actually pulled off the tape. But I don't think, because I put that skim coat, sorry about that. Before I put that skim coat on the, because I put that skim coat on there, I think that actually helped draw some moisture out of the thin set without, prematurely drying it out.
Sure. Got that. Okay. Congratulations coming to all of you for just a terrific project and presentation. And Angie, a question for you on packaging. Did you put cushion between the sheets when you packaged them up for shipment?
Yeah, Sal told me that his wife loved bubble wrap, so.
She's still popping it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I put a piece of bubble wrap between each piece. And then I also packed the box with foam on the sides or bubble wrap just to keep the movement everything from like sloshing around in there. And then I put brown paper on top of that. And then I packed all those 5 boxes into a larger box, which I packed with more foam and.
Yeah, that larger box that I never saw.
Yeah.
Because she shipped it to my tile supplier, just to save on cost and
And I
have a good
recycle a lot of my packaging. So you might get random boxes and random pieces of foam, you know, because it's just a good, I just hate to throw out things that can be used again. And
Joseph is commenting that he'd love to see mesh mount pebbles that fit together so nicely.
hey, send your pebbles to me. Oh,
there you go. Angie will do it,
yeah.
but she'll put plastic on the top of it.
No, I don't always plastic face mosaics.
A comment from Jane that says, what a terrific collaboration across the tile industry. Just a tremendous collaboration here. Thanks for those connections. Really cool, super cool. And let's see, I think you described how you selected the grout color. Angie, could you tell us a little bit more about the selection of the grout color? How did you pull that off?
Well, I try to plan things like that way in advance so that whenever I'm doing the designing now, I didn't really have to design this one because he had a photograph, but I think about, am I going to use my grout color as a highlight or a shadow? And in this case, I wanted to use it as a shadow or outlines, or like it was the gondola. Are they called drivers?
Gondoliere.
What are they?
Gondoliere.
Oh, okay.
You're going to say it with an Italian accent.
So, yeah, so like his shirt was striped and I only tiled the white, but then the grout was the black part of the stripes. So I planned that out in advance. I knew I wanted the sky to be different because I didn't want that tile to be fractured as much as everything else. So, and more sky-like. So I went with gray for that.
Okay, terrific, thank you. Lots and lots of congratulations there on a tremendous job, well done. Altogether, just a huge, great presentation. I think we have one more slide to show right here. And Sal, tell us what this is.
So Saturday morning at 7:30, there will be a video of the entire process. It's just set to music. It's just it's short. It's like 15-minute video, but it shows the entire process from Angie to the final install.
Yeah.
So if you, and Angie, I think was happy with the way I did it, and
yeah, because I wasn't talking.
What's that?
Because I wasn't talking.
That's all right. You were showing your talent, though.
Yeah, I like it. Set music. It made me cry, actually.
Oh, was great. Well, that's great. I love to hear that. And not that I want to see you cry, but
it was happy tears.
Yeah. But yeah, but there will be more videos of this entire process where you will be talking.
Okay.
Great. So everybody, I posted the link to Sal's YouTube. That's going to be coming out Saturday. It's in the chat screen. I just reposted it in case you haven't seen it. So, everyone, that was a terrific presentation. What a huge amount of information. And it was really epic. Angie, Sal, Stephen. Stephen, let's start with you. What are your final words of wisdom tonight, sir?
Words of wisdom. I would say Angie does an amazing job. Like, you must have the amount of patience it would take to put that whole thing together was amazing. I mean, very impressive. Sal, thanks for allowing me to help. It was a wonderful process. I enjoyed all of it up to this point. It was incredible. The whole thing, start to finish. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. DiBlasi, what are your words of wisdom, sir?
Ditto. Yeah, it was great working with Angie. We talked quite a bit on the phone and we messaged each other and she just did an incredible job. It was better than I could have ever expected it to be. And Steve, thank you so much for helping me out. You know, he jumped to on the opportunity to give me a hand, and he basically installed the whole thing, the glass part, tile part, and it was just a great experience overall. Really happy with the end result.
My pleasure.
Angie.
I don't know what to say other than it was a really fun experience. I feel like we're all best friends now. You know, it's personal to me, so I like to stay in communication with anybody that I work with, because you know, it's whether it's for a client or for somebody that I know. I still like to get to know the person and put that into whatever it is I'm working on. But it was just awesome working with everybody, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm glad to see that it's finally up and installed. It's really surreal that it's not still sitting here. But yeah, I'm glad that it's up and it looks great. They did a great job installing it. It makes me so happy.
Just one thing, Angie, that the mirror you did of Dan Hecox was awesome. That was great. You really captured him. Good job.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, you're very talented, Angie. You know, everyone here knows that you're very talented at, you really pulled this one off, and it's fantastic. I look at it every day. And my wife and I, in the morning when we have time, you know, if we're going to work, we don't, but if we have time, we sit down, have a cup of coffee, turn the light on, and we're enjoying it immensely.
Well, good.
Thank you so much.
Happy, Sal, that makes me feel good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I always looked up to you when I was first starting out in tile, and I really honestly feel honored to be part of this. And it's amazing to me. It's very, very cool that I actually got to make something for you, yourself, for your personal home. It's very special.
Well, you know, thank you so much.
Salvatore, Stephen, Angie, thank you very much. It was absolutely an incredible evening. I really thank all of you. You've impressed us all. And I know that this isn't the last time we're going to see of you. You're going to be back. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Great job, Angie.
Thank you.